Baby boomers, get excited. This is the podcast that's for you, by you. The Boomer Business Owner is the only podcast dedicated to helping baby boomers successfully start and run an online business. If you're ready for empowering conversations with successful online entrepreneurs, then grab a coffee and listen into your host, Charlie Posnick.
Welcome to the Boomer Business Owner. My guest today is Ellory Wells. Ellory is an honorary baby boomer and a personal business coach who helps people take their offline expertise and turn it into a successful online business. His goal is to empower and equip entrepreneurs. Hey, Ellory, welcome to the show.
Hey, Charlie, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you.
So, why don't you maybe take just a moment, if you be so kind, to tell us a little bit about you personally before we get started talking about business stuff.
Sure. I definitely am an honorary baby boomer. I took one of those online quizzes in the last couple days where, you pick out styles and people, and it definitely told me I was a 60-year-old man.
Wow.
But I've always known that. I've never liked doing young people things. I've always had friends that were older. And so absolutely, honorary baby boomer fits me to a T. So.
And we could even rephrase that to you're just an old soul, which is, I think, a positive way to look at it.
I have heard that too. It's just funny. So I'm glad to be here, and hopefully, even though I'm not actually a baby boomer, we can benefit your audience and give them some good wisdom today.
Excellent.
But I started my online business about 2.5 years ago, and it didn't really start an online business, but that's not what you asked me. You asked me about personally. I was raised in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas, born and raised here, went to Baylor University. I now live about 30 miles north of Austin in the great city of Round Rock. Married. My wife and I have known each other, I guess, 12 years or so. And we met at Baylor, and we have a cat named Boomer, as in Battlestar Galactica, not Boomer Sooner. Just wanted to make sure nobody thought I was a Sooners fan. And that's about it. Some young people things I like doing. I do video games, love technology and playing around. But I do sit on my back porch and read and smoke cigars like an old man too.
So Boomer has nothing to do with baby boomer, right?
Actually, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm a big sci-fi fan, and when we were looking at cat names, I think we were rewatching the new Battlestar Galactica that Sci-Fi had on, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever. And I was like, oh, what about Boomer? And we liked it, and that's where that name came from.
Well, and I'm sure all of our Texas listeners will resonate with your mentioning that it didn't have anything to do with Boomer Sooner. So,
oh yeah, I just want to make sure everybody knows. Just want to make sure.
Now, earlier you were chomping at the bit a little bit to start talking about some business. So let's do that. If you can maybe explain to our listeners in layman's terms what you do, that would be great.
So what I do is a combination of things that all revolve around getting obstacles out of the way for people. And there's two specific obstacles that I try to focus on. One of those is technology, making things that seem technical easy to understand. And the second one is money, not wanting to sink a lot of money into your online business or your hobby or something like that. Because I've found over the last couple of years a lot of expensive ways, but I've also found inexpensive ways to do these things. And even if the listener doesn't want to start an online business, they all have a message or something that they want to share, or even if it's just starting a blog to talk about their kids and journaling or what they're up to in life. I don't want technology or the perception of a high cost get in the way of someone sharing an incredible message, Charlie. And that's everything that I do in to some extent revolves around getting those two obstacles out of the way. And as you mentioned before, empowering and equipping entrepreneurs. Part of that is mindset, and part of that is providing tools to help people, again, share that message and take their expertise that they've built over years or decades of doing whatever it is that they do and turning it into something that they can, build an online business around, whether people want to do that or not. I'm not sure about your audience, but that's one of the things I am passionate about, so that they can gain that freedom from, I guess you could call it their day job. If they're not necessarily happy there are alternatives out there, and I want to help them pursue those.
And you do this as a coach. That is, if I met you at a party and I said, "Hey, Ellory, what do you do?" and you had to give me a one-sentence answer, you would effectively tell me that you're a coach.
Yeah, it's kind of a vague term, but I've found that it's either like a 10-minute discussion, or it could all fall under business coach.
Okay, fair enough. So talk to us a little bit about your business background and what experience you have that got you to the point where you're able to provide now the services you provide.
Sure. I've been in some sort of business, and specifically sales, for about 15 years. The last 4 years, I was working for a major IT company here in the area, and I managed depending on the year and whatnot, it was a $15 to $18 million business. And I managed all aspects of it, acquiring new customers, keeping current customers happy, managing profit, loss, forecasting, building a sales pipeline, all of those kinds of things. And then again, selling products, anything from desktops and laptops to servers, services, all those kinds of things. I spent a short time at IBM back in 2008 and was laid off from there. And that's become part of my story, the journey through that and what I learned through that process. I did not, however, go to business school, which I don't think it's hindered me, because what I did get my degree in, which is psychology, has really helped the coaching aspect of it. It's kind of tweaked my mindset and given me a unique insight into why people behave the way that they do, why they do things the way that they do. That's why I wanted to go into psychology, and having that background, I kind of understand somewhat how the mind works. I'm doctorate level type stuff, but I'm a student of human nature, and I've been studying that for a very long time. And I try to bring all of that with my sales experience, my business background, and my formal education in psychology, bring all of that to the people that I coach, and with the real intent of just helping them focus, get further, faster, and do something awesome with their life, instead of just maybe settling for the status quo, or, just the box that they feel that they've been put in.
It sounds to me like you would be the quintessential type of person that our listener may avail themselves of, meaning I've talked to some other coaches and they say, well, I want somebody who has kind of an established business and I kind of help them grow their business. But if I came to you and said, Ellory, I'm working for somebody else and I want to start a business, maybe online or not, you could definitely help me, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you also are a podcaster, is that correct?
That is also correct.
Tell me about your podcast.
So my podcast, and maybe this will be some encouragement for people listening to us today, Charlie, is I'm an extremely introverted person. I'm relatively shy. I don't necessarily like being in large groups. That's probably why I like being, at home reading a book on my back porch. But I was talking about starting a podcast, and for my birthday last August, my wife bought me a microphone. She spent the money, she invested in me, she believed in me, and so I started this podcast. And my podcast is called The Empowered Podcast with Ellory Wells. Great, unique name there. But empower, again, is a big part of my brand. Well, over the last 6-8 months or so, whatever it is, maybe almost a year, and I have interviewed some incredible people, Charlie, as I'm sure you have through your journey of 200 or so episodes. I have interviewed a guy who has won an Emmy Award, and he's worth tens of millions of dollars and lives in Oklahoma City. I've interviewed someone who has overcome depression, and I just saw that she was on a magazine cover now coaching people how to overcome depression through exercise. And someone who had a traumatic brain injury and how she's overcome those kinds of things. So people of both genders, all ages, all kinds of backgrounds. And Charlie, and you probably will agree with this, but podcasting has been one of the most powerful and life-changing activities that I've undergone in the last several years, just through the exposure that it's given me, my brand, plus the amount of knowledge that I've gotten just from talking to these people. I mean, how would I ever get on the calendar of someone who has made movies in Hollywood and has an Emmy Award, if not for podcasting?
Okay, so let's just go off on that tangent for a second. Our listener is thinking, I like talking. All right, I used to be part of the radio station in high school or something like that. It's really intriguing that Ellory's talking about, meeting these great people, and Charlie's talked before about meeting these great people. Is that something you would counsel or consult with people or coach people on? Can I come to you and say, hey, I'd like to start a podcast, Ellory, will you help me through that process?
You can, Charlie, although that's not necessarily what I want to be known for. I want to be known for helping people, start something awesome. Podcasting happens to be one of those things that I have a lot of experience in. There's a lot more resources out there, but my niche is breaking down technology to make it easy and making it not a $400 or $500 or $2,000 investment. And that's why I wrote my ebook about starting a podcast for $200 or less, because I didn't want, a $400 microphone or whatever it is to prevent someone from sharing their message with the world. And I started my podcast for less than $200. And I thought, if I can do it, so can anybody else if they want to check out the ebook and use the same resources that I did. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Where can we get a copy of that ebook?
I have it on my site. You can also buy it on the Amazon Kindle. If you go to ellorywells.com/podcast200, no dash or period, just PODCAST 200. And you can again buy it directly from me as a PDF, or there's a link at the bottom that'll take you to the Amazon store.
Thinking ahead, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, is there a larger mission or vision, Ellory, that you're working with here about like what you want to accomplish with what you're doing?
I would love, Charlie, to see more small businesses. I think our country was really founded on an entrepreneurial spirit. That's why, if you want to go back a couple hundred years, people left an oppressive authority figure so that they could do their own thing, and they thought they could do that better. And I want to see a resurgence of that. People don't necessarily want a concrete and steel company. They want some of this freedom. And I have learned the hard way even though I'm not a full baby boomer, only just honorary, I have learned the hard way that you can be let go for no fault of your own. You can be fired, at least in Texas, for no reason at all. And you're putting all of your eggs in one basket by doing that. And I would love to see over the next 4 or 5 years just a increase in the number of people starting their own business, using the knowledge that they have acquired over decades of time to turn back around and share that information with the younger generation, or people not necessarily going and getting $200,000 worth of student loans so that they can be unemployed when they get done. Just do something, start something that benefits the world, use what you know. And then also at the same time, Charlie, is we have to, as a culture, in my opinion, we have to move away from this idea that the only place to get information are universities, or having to go and get this big tome of a book. You can get information from online resources. You can get Kindle books to share your knowledge. You can go to the iTunes store and go to iTunes U, and there's Princeton and Harvard videos. I just want to see a shift from these big nameless, faceless organizations to where we start doing business with one another, and then we can all thrive and all make money, and we can all have more freedom instead of the alternative, which I think we've kind of gotten sick of over the last couple of years with terms like too big to fail.
Totally understood. That's a nice segue as well into online. I always like to bring kind of an online component to our conversations. Are there any, resources, whether it's maybe a book, an ebook, a course, a blog, a website, that if I came to you and said, hey, I'm starting to poke around this online space, any good resources you would refer me to, Ellory?
There are a few. I'm in the process of my very first class of a course. By the time this airs, I'll probably have 2 or 3 under my belt, and we can talk about that. But I know there's some big names in the industry that I wouldn't necessarily even call them competitors of mine. I think they're more inspiration. But people like Internet Business Mastery, Jeremy Franson and Jason Van Orden, they started teaching people how to do online business 7 or 8 years ago. Pat Flynn of smartpassiveincome.com has been sharing his journey of creating passive income for 7 or 8 years after he was laid off as a young architect. He just gotten a degree from Berkeley. There's some other resources. My resource, if you want me to talk about that, is a good one. It follows my same mission that I've talked about for the last couple minutes.
Please. Go ahead.
Sure. I have an expertise course, which you alluded to earlier, and it's all about turning your offline expertise into an online business with 2 specific goals: is showing people, hey, it doesn't have to be technologically complicated, and you don't have to be, technologically savvy to start a business or a website. And it doesn't have to cost you a whole lot of money. So for the price of my course, you can get everything that you need to know to start your online business. And you can find all that information, at ellorywells.com/expertise. And depending on when this airs, again, it'll be my 2nd or 3rd class, but it's a 4-week course that shows you every single aspect, from the mindset changes you need to make to go from being a consumer to a producer of information, to the WordPress side, the website building process, and all of the tools that I use. So if you do happen to go buy my ebook, how do you actually set that up? What tools do I use to show that information on your computer screen, allow you to add it to your cart, accept your payment, and then send you an ebook? All of that stuff is things that I share in the course. And again, the reason why I started this course, Charlie, is because I was tired of people having incredible stories, incredible messages, and things that they wanted to say, but they didn't know how to do it, or they didn't know what to do to set it up. And so I started my own.
Are you making your course available on any platforms like Udemy or lynda.com or something like that, or is it just available via your website?
I haven't necessarily thought about using one of those, and I haven't really explored those. Those are great resources as well, and I'm somewhat familiar with them, but not really. Everything is done on my site. There's videos, there's a comments section, and each video has, basically like a podcast, has show notes, has notes and resources and links mentioned, and it's all right there on my site. I control it. I don't have to give someone a 30 or 50% commission. I don't know that those necessarily charge that, but I wanted to have more control, and I want to show people how to do the exact same thing. That's almost part of the backbone of how I've built my business. Sure, you can use those as marketing tools, but I want people to be able to maintain as much control as they want if they want to. So no, right now they are not on Udemy or Lynda or any of those other things.
Got it. Now, you offer coaching services. Have you ever, or do you currently avail yourself of the services of a coach or a mentor or a mastermind group to help you with your business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't have a coach, but I'm in 2 very awesome mastermind groups. One meets Wednesday mornings at 6 a.m., which is always fun to wake up for. And another one that meets on Thursday evenings at 9. And they both serve different purposes. They're both entirely separate groups, but each one of them provides me valuable feedback for my ideas. They provide a different group. Some of them, one guy in my group has run training courses, online courses for firemen, and he's made a bunch of money, and I learn a lot from him. So there's not really a formal coaching that I have right now. There's a lot of informal and 2 very good masterminds that I am a part of on a very consistent basis.
Listeners have asked me before about this because we talk about mastermind a lot. It comes up usually in every interview. And they say, well, how do I find somebody? How do I find a mastermind? How do I get involved with a mastermind? If someone were to ask you that question, how would you answer it?
I would answer that question the same way that I answered it for one of my coaching clients. And it's start your own. And she did, and what my suggestion for her, and it would be the same thing for your audience too, Charlie, is find people who are good at something that you're not good at, or who are doing something that you want to do, and just email them. You might get a low response rate or something like that, but start your own mastermind. It can be virtual. Mine are virtual. We do Google Hangouts, and sometimes we do like a webinar on Citrix or something like that. So start your own with people who you want to learn from. You don't have to necessarily lead one. Start your mastermind with people who maybe you've never met, but you have heard of, who are doing something incredible for the sole purpose of learning from them. If they say no, you haven't lost anything, but I think a lot of them would be fairly impressed and be interested in joining. And I don't know if there's a good way to find existing ones unless you're already a part of a community, and like on Facebook, or I think people have found some through Dan Miller's 48 Days community. I think there are people who advertise, looking for members of their mastermind. But wherever you go to look, or if you want to decide your own, it's all going to start with getting out of your comfort zone and asking somebody.
Excellent. So, Ellory, I want to wrap things up with a contest for you. You're a sharp guy, you do coaching, expertise course, you have the goods. So I've created a contest with you and 2 like-minded colleagues, let's call them.
Uh-oh.
And each of you is going to be assigned a mentee. And yours is Bob, the baby boomer.
Okay.
So after you guys sit back on the porch and smoke a couple cigars, you want to talk to Bob, and the goal of the contest, it's a 90-day contest, and you want to help Bob make some money in the first 90 days. But that's not the most important part of the process, Ellory. More important is you are going to be judged on the work you do vis-a-vis your 2 other colleagues of how good of a business, how solid of a business that you've helped Bob start to help ensure his future success. So with that as a little bit of a convoluted backdrop, you're having your first meeting with Bob. What are a couple of the high points of what you're going to say to him in your initial conversation?
First, I'd want to know what Bob was about, what he likes doing, what he spends his free time doing, and maybe what he's done the last 20 or 30 years of learning. And I would, if he wants to continue that and just say not totally transition to something else, I would say start blogging about it and start a collection of blog posts. We don't have to post them all, but start blogging, start interviewing, getting ready for a podcast, learn everything you can about who some of the the top people in the industry are, start trying to get on their schedule and start booking interviews. So first blogging, second podcasting. The second one is start connecting with those people on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And then after all of those things are done, then we can start building the website and the platform from where he will eventually share his message. And then once we've done all of those things, maybe start jotting ideas down into a how-to guide or a top tips guide or something like that he can either add as a giveaway to people who subscribe to his email list, or something that he can sell for $2 or $3, $4, $5, something like that on Amazon, or maybe via his own site. But I have found that its online business is not necessarily like opening a storefront with a whole bunch of inventory people can walk in the front door and sell. I've found that, at least for me, Charlie, and I might have done it wrong, and I know I did some things wrong when I first started, but it's definitely a runway / on-ramp process for starting an online business. So many people want to come on, be the instant expert, and just say, hey, come buy my stuff, when it's definitely about a community. So blogging, podcasting, starting to build a platform, connecting with other people, and maybe working on that very first product.
Quick follow-up question about the book or the ebook. People talk about writing a book, writing an ebook, putting it on Amazon, selling it for a few to several dollars. When I think of a book, I think of a 150 to 250 page book that I go pick up at the bookstore. How long does an ebook that you're selling for several dollars on Amazon have to be?
Well, it can vary. I think on ebooks, Amazon suggests you charge less than $10, so $9.99, and it's up to you. I'll use mine as an example, Charlie. Mine sells for $7.99. It's on the Kindle. It's probably 20 or 30 pages. On full size, like Microsoft Word, it's 12 or 13. But I also have a couple hours of video tutorials that are in there. So mine's kind of a mix of those. Honestly, I'd probably say 20 or 30 pages. If it's much more than that, you've spent your time on something that potentially no one is interested in.
Well, and the point is that when someone who's listening is thinking about, quote unquote, writing a book, it doesn't have to be a few hundred pages. And if I may interject, you're kind of saying it probably maybe even shouldn't be a couple hundred pages. Get a couple dozen pages of good, solid, high quality information and get it out there.
Absolutely. Even if it doesn't sell, the act of creating and then publishing something is a huge boost to your confidence and the amount of knowledge that you have. That first product that you, even if it's just a blog post, the first time you hit publish on something, your world is expanded, Charlie, of all the possibilities that I can do this. I don't have to do it the traditional way. My book hit #1 bestseller status on Amazon, and I do not have a publisher other than my own company.
Ellory, this has been great quality information. If our listeners want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. I am at Ellory Wells on Twitter. I'm on Facebook /Ellory Wells, or you can go to ellorywells.com.
Well, all the fantastic resources mentioned in today's episode will be available on the show notes page at theboomerbusinessowner.com. Ellory, thanks so much. On behalf of all of our listeners, we really, really appreciate your help.
Thank you, Charlie. I was honored to be here and glad I could be on your show. Thank you.
Boomers, the time is now to take action and finally build your dream online business. And the great news is that Charlie is here to help. Visit theboomerbusinessowner.com and sign up for your free 15-minute consultation with Charlie to help you discover your first steps to starting your online business. Only those who take action are rewarded, so visit theboomerbusinessowner.com and we'll see you tomorrow.